Look at God. Look at God.
I'm going to dap you up for that one, bro.
Hello.
Hey, how are you?
Hey, how are you?
Hey, how are you? That's crazy, dude. Yeah. I was dealing with, I want to say like it was like 50% spiritual warfare, 50% maybe anxiety or shell shock PTSD. I was drawing more closer to God, but I was always kind of an on the fence Christian. Yeah. I felt like being at church and like people started freaking me out. Like I started to get scared. I was crying my eyes out, dude. And I was just like shouting, I can't live a sinful life. Things just made sense right then and there. Ever since I left that ER, man, it just makes sense. And I'm just living through him, with him. I was at the lowest of my low, thinking I was literally gonna die on that bed. And doctors were like, you're good, dude. And now I'm in a time where I think everything's like, I just continue to look up and laugh because I'm like, what are you doing, God? Like, this is awesome. This is crazy. There's a reason for that door being shut. You can't see it right now. God's going to open a better door for you.
Welcome to Branding Beyond Business. I'm your host, John Mediana. Let's get it.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to a brand new episode of Branding Beyond Business. I got an exciting guest for you, my guy, Ben Parent.
That's right. What's going on, guys?
Are we correct? Your last name is Parent?
Parent.
Dang, let's go.
Yeah, that's right.
Yo, man, I call him since the first day I met him, which wasn't that long ago. His nickname's Obi-Wan because there was two Bens in the office. And I was like, all right, you're number one. So right. Obi-Wan. Man, you're an artist. You're a mix engineer. You've been doing that for a little bit. And we're going to dive into your story in a little bit, man. But we're so excited, man. Thanks for being on the show.
Of course, man. Thanks for having me.
Really, really appreciate it. We first connected, man, with our guy, Jim Gray. And Jim Gray, if you don't know him, shout out Jim Gray.
Shout out Jim Gray for sure.
What's up, man? And he's just such a great dude, man. He's like a big creative head. He's been such an influence in the music arena and creative arena. He's such a great guy. So we met at the studio, Hit Lab, and we just connected there, man. And there was like an instant bond. There's like an instant kind of like, tell me about, tell me about your story, this and that. And you were just going off, and I was just like, man, I gotta have you on the show to talk about this because
super genuine.
It was very, very authentic and very genuine how we connected. And I just saw just how God's working in your life. And I really was like, man, I would love for you to come and share a lot of that story and the things in the process. So in this episode, we're really focusing on your life theme right now, which is like growth process, like the growth process, because you're right up in that process right now.
In the trenches of it.
You're straight up in the trenches. Yes, for sure, man. But I want to reverse engineer. So can you tell me where you're at right now, and then we could work our way backwards a little bit. And then we could probably dive into some lessons and things that you're learning.
Again, my name has been Parent. I go as the 93rd floor on all socials. Man, so I'm attending Darkhorse Institute out here in Franklin, Tennessee. I've taken a couple courses. I'm actually in the songwriting and music composition, and as of right now, that's kind of where I'm at, like school-wise or work structure-wise. That's kind of where I'm at right now. Yeah,
what brought you here?
Mainly for Darkhorse, man.
Really?
My parents actually were RVing. That's a different story. My parents were actually RVing. So many layers, man. They were actually RVing. I want to say they were making their way because we have family up in Ohio.
Yeah.
And they've just always been a huge support system for me, and they've always like looked out for me. And they were like, hey, Darkhorse, and I knew nothing about it. I had just actually gotten out of the Army when they had told me this, and I'd kind of dabbled in music since high school. So probably like 2008, 9-ish. And I always had a passion for music and still love for music. And they kind of were like, hey, here's Darkhorse, here's some, we talked to, like, they did all the legwork, dude. Like, they were like, we talked to this guy, this lady here at admissions, like, you're set, man. Just like, here it is. Like, here you go. Well, they were basically like, they did all the legwork, and they were like, here you go. Like, this is what we think you should do. And I was like, I sat on it for a while and, prayed on it, spoke to my wife about it. And it was tough in the beginning because she wasn't as like on board as I was from the jump because we had just left the Army, and we felt like safe, like at that home niche, because we moved to Dallas.
You had a community.
Right. Yeah. And so we knew no one here, so it was a big jump, but I'm blessed that we made it on the other side.
Yeah. No,
I'm glad I'm here.
For sure. I want to go back a little bit because like people won't recognize like there's some like little tiny details and stuff like that transition period. I want to dive a little bit into that because some people don't recognize, man, like that is a leap of faith to like to go from one place where you feel safe,
right.
You feel community, but then you're like, okay, but is God calling me here? And then you step out of your comfort zone to take that leap into the unknown, right? And I want to really pick a little bit into your mindset and having like, so you're married and you have 2 kids, correct? Yeah. And how long have you been married for?
I've been together with her for 10 years. Correct me if I'm wrong, babe. 10 years. And we just had our 8-year anniversary, October 2nd.
Oh, congrats. Are you serious? Yeah, October 2nd?
Yeah, I got it right here. I got it tattooed on my arm so I don't forget.
You got to be kidding me.
October 2nd.
That's my wedding anniversary.
Bro.
Are you serious?
Bro, October 2nd.
Bro, October 2nd, 2016 is when we got married.
That's crazy, bro.
We just celebrated 7 years.
Don't ask me the year, dude. Don't ask me the year.
Look at God. Look at God. That's crazy, man.
2nd.
October 2nd. That's when we got married.
Crazy. I'm gonna dap you up for that one, bro.
Hello.
Hey, how are you?
Hey, how are you?
Hey, how are you? That's crazy, dude. Yeah.
Yo,
that's crazy.
That's wild. So y'all been married, and then like, so you went into. So tell me the story about going to the Army, and then we could talk about the process of coming out here.
Sure.
Because taking that leap of faith and all that stuff, like you also have to navigate your family.
For sure.
And having to lead your wife, and having like, there's some conversations around that. Okay, so let's reverse engineer and go into the whole getting into the Army.
Sure. Yeah. So, man, where do I even start with this? I just came back I was living in Arizona. Okay. And I just came back from Arizona. I wouldn't say back, but I had come back, I guess, because I was living in Texas, then I went to Arizona for a little bit. And I just came back in Canyon Lake near San Marcos, Texas, probably like 35 minutes away from San Marcos, Texas, and came back to visit some family. And I had a friend who I had actually wanted to, so I left, I ended a relationship in Arizona, and that's the reason I came back to Texas. Yeah. And what do we always do after getting out of a relationship? We want to go back. It seems like, oh, she was the love of my life. Like, what am I doing?
I made a mistake.
Yeah, right. And I had a buddy, and this was like, I'm 30 now, so this was probably when I was like 21.
Okay. Like 9 years ago.
Yeah, 21, maybe 21, around there. Yeah. And a close friend at the time of mine was saying, nah, man, just, on to the next one. And so I guess that's what I did. And that's where I met my wife. And I don't want to say she was a rebound because she wasn't. But I felt really genuine with her and around her. And like the first week of even just knowing her and meeting her, like I introduced her to my family. So there was something there, and I found, like, I was in between jobs. I was like a cook at Chili's, and I only know how to make mac and cheese, and I'll probably burn it at the crib. So it's like, you know what I mean? Like, what am I doing?
Have any skills.
What am I doing? What am I doing at Chili's? Where was I going with that? And So I had met her, invited her over to the fam, probably like week 1 or 2, and within like 2 months of that, she's pregnant with my son Braxton. Yeah. And once I found out she was pregnant, like I wanted to be in my son's life, and I kind of just knew like, oh, she's the one. My family, and I really felt like that after, like, I told my family, and they were fine with it because they were like, "Oh, Megan, we love Megan," and
she checks.
Right. Yeah,
I learned that too. Like, getting married to my wife, like, her family was actually like family to me before we got married.
Yeah.
Like I actually saw my father-in-law, as a spiritual father.
Love that.
Way before even we were dating, even before we married. Like I saw him as a mentor. I saw him as so it family dynamics is really key.
It just felt right too, you know. Like I'm big off like vibes.
Yes,
and,
energy,
like
all
it's
that stuff,
like it felt right, and we told her family and they were weirdly enough okay with it too. Cool. And I'm like, I've known this chick for like 2 months. What's happening?
Yeah.
And I'm like 21, and she's like 21 or 22. She's a year older.
Yeah.
And and so right then and there, I was like, I kind of gotta like, I need to change something here.
Get my life together.
And so and I walked in an office, the recruiting station, and I would want to say probably like a couple months after that I left, and we got married before I left.
So you got married,
correct?
Signed up, you got the
I signed up, got married, and then shipped out to basic.
Yeah.
I'm just horrible with dates, dude. Shipped out to basic, and then
how long were you, sir?
How long did I serve? For 6 years, or 5.5.
5.5 years.
5.5, yeah.
But the thing that compelled you was like, something's got to change.
Correct.
Now I got a future, and then I got to do something.
I was 20, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? For that headset, for that mind, like, because I could have, you know what I mean? Like, I could have just continued at Chili's and been like, we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So, what was the decision between we'll figure it out Chili's to like, I got to really get my head straight and get disciplined?
I honestly,
because that's really what it is. It's like, I got to get disciplined.
I want to, dude, like looking back at it, like, I want to say that, like, without even knowing what it was, I want to say God was leading me to that door. Like, I want to say before that even happened, like a recruiter was driving down, and like, if you ever go to the house I was at, like it's a dead end.
Yeah.
And just a recruiter was driving down,
timing,
and I just like stopped and kind of talked to him. I don't know if he was going to see like another recruit or something else, but I remember, and I was like, not even, because I wasn't really spiritually awake back then either.
Yeah.
But I like looking back at it now, because I rarely do. It was probably God's timing, which usually it is God's timing.
I usually say like, man, it was a setup. You know what I mean?
It's a setup.
It's a setup. Like,
right. Where's the other recruiter, man? How'd you know the address?
It's a setup. Like, God just sets, he's a great orchestrator. He's a great, his time is the best time.
Right.
His time is the time.
Right.
Not our time. And he is the great
It's never our time.
It's never our time. So he put people in places and spaces that you could never think or imagine. But because of, if that never happened, there would never been a domino effect of things, and you can't imagine, having not done that, you can't imagine if that moment would have changed the trajectory of your whole entire life.
Right.
It's because of one small detail.
Yeah, if I never would have walked in there. And like, yeah, who knows? Who knows where I would have been. But I wouldn't say like headset wise, like when I got out of the military, like I was just more mature.
Yeah.
Like,
you had to mature, right? Like, fast in a hurry,
quick,
and you had to cause, and maybe this is true. I've never been in, but my dad's a Vietnam vet.
Okay,
I got a lot of military friends. That's like even clients that we work with, we got some military people and stuff.
Yeah.
And like, it's like they deconstruct you to reconstruct you.
Correct.
Is that kind of like?
Yeah, they break you down and then just to build you back up. And if you can't handle getting broken down, like you're out.
Yeah.
And like, funny enough, when I said that and you said that, that's kind of like what happened in my life, and like in the spiritual sense.
Yeah.
Like,
how crazy
I
is
got
that?
broken down, dude, and it was just because like of my like anxiety, and then it was crazy.
Talk to me about that real quick. You said I got broken down.
Yeah, man. The last it's November 1st today, so I gotta base it off that. I want to say in the beginning of October, I was dealing with, I want to say like it was like 50% spiritual warfare and 50% maybe anxiety or shell shock PTSD. Because I did one tour to Afghanistan in 2017 to 2018 for 9 months. And
thank you for your service too, man.
Yeah, man, for sure, of course, dude, of course. And thank you for your family service too, brother. And so Yeah, so October, I would say probably in the beginning of October, I was drawing more closer to God. But I was always kind of an on the fence Christian.
Yeah.
I felt like,
Called convenient Christian.
Right, yeah, and yeah, perfect word for it, exactly. And I would want to. I was like, my wife has always been like a staff, dude, just like always strong, like never changing her like mindset. Not like I was trying to, but she was always just the voice, like God, consistent, dude, consistent. And then I was like, let me see the Bible, let me read that. Getting closer to him, going to church with her, getting closer to him. And the reason I say 50% spiritual warfare and then the PTSD and anxiety is because like I've never been in my head so much in the month of October or, September-ish, October. And it felt like every time I was trying to get closer to him, my head would hurt or like I'd have these panic attacks, which I've never had ever. Wow. PTSD, like losing it in a safe space. Being at church and like people started freaking me out. Like I started to get scared. And so that led me to one day we were eating at Chewy's, and this has kind of been inconsistent for like this middle of September and October. Yeah. Just very random anxiety, random panic attacks. And so we went to eat at Chewy's, and I was kind of like freaking out in there. And then we went to Sam's, and I was really freaking out in there. And
you had like a moment.
Right, I had a moment, and I was like, we got to get out of here, babe. Like, I honestly felt like I was going to pass out in that like line at Sam's. Like, I was holding the cart, like, and I was like, she was like, just go to the car, And I was like, okay. Yeah. And I'm even getting sweaty talking about it. And I was just losing it in the car, dude. I was like going like this, just back and forth. I was like, get me home. And that's when it happened, dude. I was just looking out the window, man, and I don't want to say I saw him or heard his voice because that's not what happened. But I was just looking up out the window, and it was like a beautiful skyline of just the clouds. And the only words I knew, like in my whole vocabulary at that moment, was I can't live a sinful life anymore. Wow. It just made sense. Like I feel like everything I'd been doing maybe had led me to that point. Wow. And what I was saying before, and I was crying my eyes out, dude. And I was just like shouting, I can't live a sinful life. Things just made sense right then and there. And I was like, babe, what's the prayer? What do I got to do? Like, I get it now, and went on a walk when I got home. I was playing outside. I was still kind of feeling weird because of like that day prior. And I actually went to the ER that night. Yeah. Because I was still feeling a little weird. And I got an EKG. Right. I just felt really lightheaded. Like I just didn't feel right. And yeah, something was off, man. And, got an EKG, where they test your chest and stuff. And they drew my blood and they gave me an IV bag, and the doctor came in and she was all looking at me concerned, like kind of like not frantic, but like worried for me. Yeah. Because I was like going 90-0, like my wife likes to say, where I was just like this, but this. Yeah. And she was like, okay, we ran your tests. You're good. We drew your blood. You're good. Are you on anxiety, man? Like what's going on? And I was I was just humbled in that bed, dude. And literally ever since I left that ER, man, it just makes sense. And I'm just living through him, with him. I had music on Spotify recently, a single I came out with called 22. And I've now taken that. I've removed that because I want to glorify God. Things just make sense, man, to me now.
So what I'm hearing from you is there's this moment of anxiety, not even anxiety. It's like a moment of like almost like your world's like collapsing. Like you can't even, like your body's.
And that's the thing where you were saying the just like the military, they'll build you down and then
deconstruct and reconstruct.
So now I've been in a time of my life where I met you genuinely. Like, I feel like God's open, like I wouldn't say maybe him, but like I was at the lowest of my low, thinking I was literally going to die on that bed. And doctors were like, you're good, dude. And now I'm in a time where I think everything's like, I just continue to look up and laugh because I'm like, what are you doing, God? Like, this is awesome. This is crazy.
So there was this moment, and then the world's, for you, through your eyes, like almost like your whole world's going to collapse.
Right.
And then you had this moment of clarity.
Yeah.
And it was like this God experience.
Yeah.
And clearly, and it was just like this moment of like everything kind of just made sense. Mm-hmm. And how recent was this?
Probably like
2.5 months ago.
No, like this was like 2 weeks ago. Yeah, I was in the bed like 2 weeks ago in the ER in 2 weeks ago. Whenever I met you, like I want to say it was like maybe like that week prior.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I was in a bed on
goodness,
ER on
so
Sunday.
This is
recent. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
This is the beginning stages of the growth.
You were like, I'm in the middle. I was like, I'm in the beginning of the trenches, bro.
This is
like
such a perfect
growth.
Like, this is amazing to me. This is actually fascinating because like we're literally witnessing how God works in your life, but also for the ones that are listening right now, man, like they may be going through something and they haven't figured that out yet, and they can't even identify it, they can't explain it, but they might be in the growth process. They just don't know because it's really uncomfortable to them, and they can't really identify that. But your experience here, you know, you're actually sharing and creating impact through your story. I don't know if you know this, and the idea here is that you have a wonderful wife and beautiful kids. That's really like a foundation, and you have a praying wife, that has been really covering you, through this. And now what God's doing is saying, now you get to be like you are my son, and guess what? Like you're covering now your family in this pursuit of His greatness. And his goodness, and you're hungry for that, but your upbringing is kind of like, you know, you had said something really important. It felt like all this stuff in your life accumulated to this one moment, right? So I would love to dive into kind of like your childhood a little bit, if that's okay, because this is like fantastic stuff, but we won't really understand the dynamics or the dimensions or the different layers if we don't talk about that, because I know a lot of stuff in my childhood has been traumatic, but I've had a great childhood. I didn't know how traumatic it was until I got older, So like, let's dial back a little bit and tell me one story about you know, what makes you the person that you are today from your childhood.
From my childhood? I want to say I'm always persistent, and consistency is key to me. And the one thing that kind of popped in my head when you were saying that, and kind of like it's the time of the year for it, like raking leaves and stuff. My dad was always huge on that, man. And I wouldn't say he made me go out there and help him. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. Yeah. But I just always remember like not liking it in that moment when I was like in middle school or whatever, and like looking back on it, like it's consistent. And he taught me how to be consistent and to stay true to who you are. And I was adopted too, you know. But consistency to me is key, and it just makes me remember of those the big bags and the 300. It seems like there's 300 bags and they're like heavy, but they're leaves. Why are they heavy? Consistency is huge to me, dude.
When did you find out you were adopted?
When did I find out? I want to say I found out probably when I was, my parents told us, like, me and my sister and I, we were both adopted from St. Petersburg, Russia. Wow. My sister's 4 years older than me. So she was adopted, and then I always say, then they came back and got me. When did I find out? I know I'm probably butchering this as well, but I want to say around probably 14, 15, my parents kind of like broke it to us.
Yeah, so you're like kind of already in your teens.
Yeah.
You know?
And at the time I was cool with it, and I'm still fine with it.
Yeah.
Because, you know, now I know like there's a reason, you know, like God's working in ways that we just can't even imagine, but there's a reason for everything and everybody's story, and there's a reason why you got that Starbucks this morning. There's a reason why I showed up at 9:20. You know, like there's just a reason for things. And that's another thing where I want to pivot off. And it's interesting, like when I was telling you earlier offline, when people were just like racing around, like people are just, I always think like, say people are just rushing to nothing, man. Yeah. Like it's God's timing. Like, what are you what are you doing? Like, you know, like why are you like, people are literally rushing on the, like just on the highway. When I just realized that, like cutting people off, almost causing a wreck, dude. For what, man? You know, just rushing to nothing. But yeah, man, adopted childhood was great, man. I had everything. My parents were well off, I guess. I had a great childhood, really, really great. And we traveled around a lot. I was adopted from Russia when I was like, I want to say maybe 2 months.
Okay.
So like,
young.
Baby.
Yeah. You can't remember anything.
And we lived overseas. My dad's job required us to move. He wasn't military, but he required us to move every 3 years. He would pick like a different assignment. Yeah. And so we lived like in Holland, Singapore, Malaysia for a little bit.
You got to travel and see culture.
Yeah. And that's, I'm blessed. And now I won't step a foot on an airplane, but that's a different story.
I don't think they will allow you. No.
Yeah, right, for real. Probably they're like, hey, we're taking them.
No fly list.
Yeah. Right. Get that guy. Yeah, and then we moved over to the States. I actually did 8th and 9th grade in Singapore American School. In Singapore, we actually lived in the woods.
So do you speak other languages?
I don't, and I fail. I have like it's so funny. I have like Russian neighbors, and I'm like, yeah, dude, like we're blood brothers. Like he even put it in my phone. Like when he got my number, he was like blood brother, or whatever. But I always think it's funny because I'm like they have strong accents too, and I'm looking at my parents. I'm like, come on, guys, couldn't you have waited like a couple more years? Like because I tell people I'm from Russia, and people are like, cat. Like you know what I mean? Like that's a lie. Like and I'm like, but for real, like you know, I'm like, for real.
I'm legit Russian.
Right.
You're a spot, no. Secret op.
No, secret op. Yeah, man, childhood was great. Couldn't complain, dude. Can't complain. Looking back on it now, can't complain. Did my 8th grade and 9th grade year in Singapore American School. My sister was at a boarding school in Texas, in San Marcos. She didn't want to finish her years out, I get, in a new school and overseas.
Of course, yeah.
And then I went to that boarding school because Singapore American School, bro, that school was hard. It was hard, dude. Tough, hard. Like, my mom could tell you, dude, like it would be like, I would literally have like maybe like, I would like chill maybe for like an hour after school. And then like, let's say I get off at 3, right? Chill till like 4:30. And I'd be doing homework like, or studying for tests till like 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night. And it's like, what is this in 8th grade, dude?
I know that feeling because I grew up with an Asian mom. So
yeah. But for me, I was like, what's going on here, man? Like, this is not fun.
This is not fun. For me, it was just my life. Like, I was just like, I know nothing else. Like, I remember I was in 3rd grade, man.
Oh, this is the standard.
I had a teacher. Her name was Miss Yoon, and we took a math test, the whole class, and it was a hard math test, man. Like, not one student got anything above a C.
What grade?
Plus, it was 3rd grade. 3rd grade, bro. 3rd grade. So I come home and I bring home the test, and it was a B+. No one, mind you, no one got higher than a C+. Right. I got a B+, the highest grade in the class.
Upset.
Right. My mom goes like, "You got to go back and take the test again." I said, "What?"
No.
And I was like, "Mom, I got the highest grade."
Right.
She's like, "You know what B stands for?" I said, "What?" That's her Filipino accent.
Yeah.
She was like, "B stands for bad."
But
go take the test.
But there's a plus.
Yeah. She was like, "I don't pay for your tutor to give you a B."
That's
right. So
hilarious,
I go
dude.
back and I tell my teacher that. She's like,
Teacher's probably like, okay.
My teacher was like, "You know, you have the best grade in the class."
Right.
And she's like, I was like, please please. Just
Dude,
give me like an A. Like, let me retake it and get an A, right?
That's so
funny. I retook it.
That's so funny.
by the grace of God, right. She was like, oh, all right, an A, here it is, man.
That's hilarious, dude.
But that's the Asian, it's a different mentality. It's the culture thing, right?
Right.
So let me ask you this, man. When did the love for music come into your life? Like you had mentioned something about like, like high school.
Yeah.
Or something before we had this conversation.
So the love of music, I remember like long road trips with my parents in the old school brown Suburban. My sister, where not radios, but CD players were still a thing, and
Sony, those CD players that are like anti-skip.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, yeah. And so like I'd be right. I'd be jamming to, I remember like totally like different like genre that I'm into now, but I was jamming to Eminem's Curtain Call album.
Dang,
and
man.
Throwback, dude. Like throwback. And my sister was probably listening to some like Evanescence or some rock music or whatever. And every time I would take it off for just a break or whatever, because he was spitting,
of course.
Shout out to Eminem, man. He was spitting back then and he still is. My parents would always have like very chill music on, like Enya dude. And I'm like, what is this? Like, this is smacking for no reason. And like, then I'd put back on Eminem and be like, okay, this is cool. This is the vibe. Yeah. And I'd take it off and like, you can say, and I'm like, this is hard. Like, and so I would say the love of like the music I fell into, I was a bit like, I still am like a big Justin Bieber fan, like Boys to Men, Charlie Wilson.
Oh, come on.
And I want to say like they kind of like just always slid that like Barry White, El Divo, like a Spanish group, just very like classical structured wise and like just a vibe, like R&B vibe. So I would say early, but when I started actually like messing around with music would be in that boarding school in high school, like 11th, 10th, sophomore year or not.
What drew you to like even getting involved in, or even like having the know-how would be like, oh, I want to create?
Yeah, so I was in the boarding school. I was blessed enough to meet. I had like I had some really good friends in the boarding school, and they were also creatives as well. One was a singer, one was a rapper, and the school kind of like, and we kind of like just kind of, it was a boarding school, so we all like lived together, I guess. We had our own rooms and stuff, so we were always around each other. Some people lived at school.
It was like brothers. Like,
yeah. Some people lived at school. It was just always a vibe, and some people like went home and came back and stuff. And trust me, bro, there's like pluses and minuses to literally everything, but literally that. Because it's like, and it was a small school. Like at the Singapore American School, I went from like 5,000 students to like my graduating class of like 10, 12 people.
Whoa.
Crazy, bro. That's and so crazy. It's like you date a girl, you break up with a girl, like not only does everybody know, but like, I hope she's not a boarding student because you're going to see her for breakfast, lunch, dinner.
Oh my gosh.
Like
awkward.
Right, bro. So you know what I mean? Like very small school. But yeah, like it was, I was glad to have friends who I guess most likely had done it a little bit before me because they were Nigerian. And so they came from Nigeria to go to the school, and they were really good.
Yeah.
They still are. And I kind of like piggybacked off them, and I kind of had my own vibe with like the music I grew up with, and they kind of showed me some like programming stuff, like the actual like how to record and how to program music and make music and mix. And so it was kind of like a learning experience, but they also like really loved like my sound and what I did. And that was crazy, man. Like, the super beginning of the 93rd floor.
Crazy, man. Yeah. So let's fast forward now. So we got a little backstory on that and where it all stemmed from. But fast forward, now you got this opportunity to move it out here in Nashville through this like program.
Correct.
And you're currently in that program right now.
Correct. Yeah, the last phase.
The last phase, Darkhorse Institute.
Correct. Shout out Darkhorse.
Shout out Darkhorse. How long is that program?
The audio production. I know they just extended it. So I know the composition and songwriting course that I'm in now, I think it was 12 weeks, and I think and they extended it to 15. Same as music business. I don't know how long audio production was, but I know that's the first one I took, and it was pretty long too.
Yeah.
But they're like, it's not, it's like an extended, like it's like a quicker version. Like it's going to be like, you're going to be getting like the information all drilled in. You're going to be taking tests. It's like an advanced course. It ends quickly.
It's
so
quick process.
I love it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
What's the outcomes, when students are going into a program like this? Like,
and then coming out.
Yeah. Coming out.
Yeah. Like
what is the
internships, it's kind of what we were saying, like, what you and I were speaking on offline about, when I first got here. You can, let's say you go to class, right?
Yeah.
And you do all 3 classes or 1 class or whatever. But if you're not going out, bro, and you're not like networking or talking to people, then who knows what jobs you're going to get. Right. You know what I mean? But I would want to say internships. Some people work for like a company who like sets up like the Bridgestone Arena and stuff for like concerts and stuff, and then you can kind of like piggyback from that job to maybe hopefully find your way to be like a lead guitar tech, and then maybe from there you can pivot to being like front of house, or you can go to Broadway and just some people are hiring for front of house engineers, or so really just anything you want, really. But it's more of who do you know, and talking to people, and because you can, like I said, bro, you can go through all 3 classes, and if you don't say a word or go outside, and not just in your class, but like go outside of your class and like really try to grow yourself as whatever you want to do, then what are you doing?
What are you doing?
And what are you doing?
I love that. So what's the vision, bro? Like, what's the vision? So you're in this, you're in
myself?
for you, you're doing an internship with Graybeard.
Correct.
And like,
shout out Graybeard.
Shout out Graybeard, my dude. Like, the vision for you, your family.
It's crazy because it's changed.
It's changed in the last, I would even say like 2 weeks. But I want to talk about that too, because the growth process, many layers. And the thing is, like, when you're in a growth process, things change so fast. Like, you might have caught a vision, and that vision might spin off to another thing.
Right.
And you got to have the intuition to pivot, but understand, like, well, is that the vision, or is this the vision? Is that the vision? And it's almost like you can't have that other vision that is so clear without having gone through that first process or iteration of that vision. Is that correct?
Yeah.
You feel that?
Sure. No, 1,000%.
Right. So like even the storyline, everything that we talked about today has led up to this pivotal moment that you would even say like is so fresh. It's it's almost like it even forced you to take action to take down old music. Right. And say, I'm going this direction now because I don't see any other way. I don't see any other road. Like, this is where it's at.
Right.
Yeah. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, man. So I came out here. I really just loving music and being around it and all that. There was a time where I tried to be, and it's funny, I tried this was way before meeting my wife. But I had come out with like an EP. I guess I had a manager, sure. And so I tried to, did the things to become an artist, tried at least. And so that was cool, but nothing really popped off for that, which is fine. And then, so that was like in the beginning, like phases I tried. And then I did the Army thing. Then I came out here. And my intention of coming out here was to really just kind of like get the vibe, learn the music business, because I've taken all 3 courses, the audio production, music business, and songwriting. And I would say that my intention coming out here was like I wanted to be like an engineer. Like I wanted to sit behind the desk or be a producer at a big time or, independent studio, something like that. And now my intentions changed even before the last 2 weeks, where I got in those rooms where I really wanted to be in, and I was just like, this isn't like fulfilling me. And like to other people, like that's fine, but it just wasn't my calling. Like I felt that like this isn't me. Like I wanted to be here so bad, and I'm here,
and you're finally there,
and I'm like this isn't. I just felt like, and it's crazy because it's like, it wasn't even like a no, think positive. Like, but I was just like, this isn't it, you know?
Wow.
And so, you know, meeting you, just genuinely meeting Jim as well, and kind of just seeing where these doors are opening. And now my intention, and so I came out with that. I know I just jumped, but I came out with my single, old single, called 22. Mm-hmm. And writing that song was a struggle. Mm. Recording that song was a struggle. And making that song was a struggle. Yeah. And from the leap that I have now, where that was like 4 months ago, and you know, I'm still in, like, I was in audio production. Now at this point, I'm in music business. When I released my single, still just trying to, like, okay, I know I don't want to be in that room. Where am I going, right? Because I did what I wanted to do, but that's not it. Yeah. And I still, like, but I love mixing. Like, I love mixing vocals and instruments. I love that. So I'm like, okay, you know, I'm still doing it at the crib, doing it with my music, doing it with other people's music, trying to just grow my brand, you know, my name. Yeah. And with that encounter, or not encounter, but with the mindset change and glasses change and just living through God and with God, and I just see, like, I just get it now. It's hard to explain, but I just get it now. Yeah. I took the single off of Spotify because it wasn't glorifying God, and I had I wouldn't say vision, but maybe epiphany where, like, something came in my head, and because I've been struggling with, like, anxiety and PTSD. Yeah. And the word fear kept on popping in my head in the last month. Like, fear, but, like, broken down to where, like, F.E. like, you know, like, and right. And I was like, and then this is what popped in my head: face everything and rise. Ooh. And so I was like, say that again. Face everything and rise.
Let's go.
And I was like, okay, let me write that down so I don't forget it, you know? Yeah. And I haven't came out yet, but I've been working on something really special, an EP called Fear, Face Everything and Rise. And going back to the 22 part where it was tough for me to write this, and, like, I'm just struggling with the music, and I want to say this sound and just glorifying him, like, it's I want to say it's quick. I want to say he's giving me these words.
It's like he's downloading.
He's telling me what to say, you know, like, wow. And it's like, I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but, like, the reaction from people I got with 22 and the reaction I'm getting with these songs, it's different. Dude.
It's like night and day.
And so I saw something, and to kind of, like, finish with that, what I was saying with that is I was watching the World Series the other day. I don't know what my D-backs are doing. We need to get it together, boys. But I heard someone say, in an interview, one of the baseball players was like, something like this, where he was like, I've always had trouble, like, not being him, but, like, being that guy. Yeah. And he was like, if God wants me to be that guy for this team, like, why shy away from it? And so that struck me so hard because this was literally like 2 days ago. Yeah. And I was sitting there and I was like, because I get nervous on stage or singing on stage, and people are like, dude, like, you got something, bro. Like, you just need to get over that fear. And I've been praying about it a lot, but that struck with me hard because it's like, bro, if God wants me to be this guy.
Moses stuttered.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, every great character in the Bible had a flaw. Mm. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
And
and I feel like the message that God is using through you is with even through the flaws, greatness arises. Mm-hmm. Right? Punch fear in the face, and just trust in God.
Right. Yeah.
And He's going to use your story. He's going to use you through the growth process.
Right.
And you humbling yourself and saying, like, hey, you know what? It's not about me. And 22, I made it about me.
Yeah, at all.
And this whole process, I made it about me. But once you stop fixing your eyes on yourself and you're like, you know what? What am I designed for?
Yeah.
What am I here for? What is my purpose?
Yeah.
What do I really want to do? And that fulfillment that came along and that recognition of like, I made it to the Super Bowl and I ain't happy.
Right, dude. Right.
Right. You have to get to that moment to be like, well, dang, did I miss it? What is it?
Yeah.
And now you're in that fulfillment of like, he's just downloading stuff. And I'm hoping for the greatest season of your life.
Yeah, man.
Because on the other side of your commitment, on the other side of your obedience, on the other side of the hard work of putting in the work, there's lives that are going to be transformed and impact's going to happen because they get to hear the lens you look through life and your story through that, and then that encouragement. And as we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the power of our testimony. Right. The power of our testimony is one thing that each and every single one of us carries. Mm-hmm. Your reputation, your story, your past, your experience. No one could replicate that. Mm-hmm. Not one person on planet Earth has the same thumbprint. Right. Which blows my mind.
It's crazy. Really think about that. Right.
So if he's calling you to write music and to get on stages so that his name could be glorified, so that people can find healing, so that people can find courage,
they can find to do it. It's if that's what he wants. And I've been sitting with that for a while, if just always looking up and talking like after we met, I was like, that's crazy. What are you doing up there? I see you though. And with the music and how quick it is now, and just it just all makes sense now. And it's just I was just before I got humbled on that ER bed, I wasn't putting my trust in him, and he was probably looking down and just laughing dude, I've always been here. What are you doing? Because I was stressed and worried about where the dollar bill is going to come from. I got a family. How am I going to do this? Oh, I'm in school. I'm 30, blah, blah, blah. And weighed on me, bro. Weighed on me so much where I'm losing it, and it just made sense. And I was now it's not even a question, where I'm just oh, I ain't worried about it. If he wants it to be this way, it will be this way. It's God's timing, man. That's and it's crazy, just, I just see it for what it is now, man. It's crazy.
That's amazing, man. Hey, so we're going to wrap up here, man. But if there's one final thing that you would love to leave the audience with that might be struggling in this growth season.
Yeah.
Holidays are coming up.
Yeah.
One of the most kind of depressing times for a lot of people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What's one thing that you would want to have them take away with from our conversation today?
The biggest thing that I learned through the military, before the military, with my wife of 8 years, just don't give up. Just never give up. Even when you think a door's closed. I just had a conversation with a buddy 2 days ago. He was telling me, I won't say his name, but he was telling me his band just broke up. Mm-hmm. And I was I don't know anything about your band, any of the people. But there's a reason for that door being shut. You can't see it right now, at all. And I know you're in the struggle. And I know you're in the trenches. But God's going to open a better door for you. Not saying that door was bad, but there was a reason that door closed. And if you want to know why, you're just going to have to do the legwork to figure out what's going on and what's he doing. Because God shut a lot of doors for me. But I'm sitting on a podcast, which is pretty crazy, right?
You alive?
Or I'm alive. I'm breathing. You're half of our worries. If you look at a whole world basis, what we struggle with is huge. It's huge. Mental health is huge. But it's so small to compare to when I have a bad day, I'm I try not to get so stressed out or worried about it. Because it's this is just so small compared to everything else going on in the world right now. But yeah, man, one thing is there's a reason why that friend's out of your life. There's a reason why, things happen for a reason. Just pray on it and just don't give up. Keep going.
So good, bro. Thanks so much for being on the show.
Yeah, man, bro. Thanks so much for having me.
Where can we find you if we want to connect?
93rd floor, at the 93rd floor, baby. All socials, the 93rd floor.
And we'll put all the links in the description on this podcast and stuff so you can connect with our dude. And we're so excited for your future, man.
Dude, it's been fun, man. I really enjoy it, baby. I enjoy it, man. I really do.
All right. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you on the next episode of Branding Beyond Business. Let's go.